So welcome to another episode of the Property Show. I'm Matt Turner, and today I'm at an auction. I'm not actually going to buy a property myself. I'm going to try and keep my hand down. It's very easy to get involved in the excitement of an auction, and if you've got your hand up, yes, you're actually making a bid. Today, later in the show, the marketplace. I have talked to an agent in Hampstead, which is a beautiful part of London, and for me it has like a feeling of southwest England, sort of Devon and Cornwall. It's very villagey. It's got beautiful little streets that you can get lost in, and you can quite really forget that you're actually in London, albeit you are very, very central. So yeah, we're at an auction today. The auctioneer at the moment's just going through the addendums, any sort of legal rights that people have, just to make sure that the buyers that are here have done their due diligence and they know what they're getting involved in. Because as I said, if you are bidding, I've been to ones before. It does create a lot of excitement between bidders, and you have your hand up, and before you know it, the hammers come down, and you're liable for 10%. I remember myself about 6 years ago. I actually bought a property at auction, and the person I went with, when the hammer came down, I said, "Did I get that?" I'm not sure if I did, and she went, "Yeah, you definitely got that." So really, come to an auction, be prepared, have a certain amount that you're prepared to pay, and you've really got to try and be strict with that. I'm actually just going to wait for lot 112, which has a guide price of £300,000 to £325,000. Quite often the auctioneer will start a little bit lower this to get the interest going, but I suppose with the hope that there's a few bidders, and this pushes the price a lot further north than this level. So I will be a bit sneaky and go and try and record the auction actually as it's happening. This property is actually it's quite a nice bungalow. It's quite a big plot, so I'd say there's probably some good development opportunity there to add an extra level. So I'm hoping that there'll be some big interest in this, and it wouldn't surprise me if this goes a little bit further north than the £300,000 that is on the guide.
Lot number 112, guide price of £300,000 to £325,000. Nice plots, property ready for improvement, and good number of people trying to themselves to go and have a look at this one before the auction. So, where do we start here, ladies and gentlemen? Totally with you. If you're going to start me 300, seems like a nice round number to start at. 300 to start me. 300 I've got, still at the bar at 300, 305. 305. Got your bid, sir, right at the back, 305, 305, 310, 310 it is, 310, 315. Got your bid, 315, 320, 320, 325, 325, 330, 330, 335, sir. Yeah, 335, 335, 340. 340, still here at 340, shake of the head. 340,000 on bid, 345 anywhere else. 345, you both went up at the same time. Saw yours first at 345, 350 may I say. 350? 350, I've got so I'm going up first, I'm sorry, sir. At 350, 350, 355, 355 now, 360 may I say. 360 it is, 360, 365, 365, 365 still going, 365, not this time, 365 on the front row at 365, 365,000, 370 I'm looking. This time, sir? 370? No? Thinking about it, 365 here. I'll go 361, 366 if it helps somebody. 366, 366, 367, 367. Not this time, no. 367. Front row here at 367. £367,000. Anyone else coming in? Be quick at 367,000. Then I'm going to be selling for the first time. Right at the back, new place. 368 it is. That's 368, 369, 369. Against you now, sir. 369. 370, 370, 371, 371, 371, 372, 373, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78. Yes, sir. Yeah, 378, 379, 379, 380, 380 it is. Can I say 385? 385 it is. £385,000 a bid on the front row at 385. 385 here. 386, sir? No, not this time. 385 is your bid. Don't worry, I've got your bid, sir. 385. 385 I've got. Any competition look further at 385. 385, 386 I'm looking. 386. Can't take me one more, sir? Not this time. At 385,000, then I'm going to sell for the first time at 385. Second time, 385. Third and final time at 385,000. Well done, sir. Congratulations.
So I've jumped to the back of the room again now, and not sure about you, but that was pretty exciting actually. Obviously I wasn't bidding at all, but I did feel my heart rate increase somewhat. There was probably 3 or 4 bidders who really wanted that property, and yeah, it didn't get too crazy, but they got a fantastic price for their clients, the auctioneers there. That was, I suppose, sort of 10-15% more than they had the guide. So yeah, it was a great property with potential there. So let's hope the person who bought that did their research, and yeah, I'm sure it's worth a lot more once it's in good order. Okay, so it's a few days after the auction now, and very grateful for Paul Bridgeman of Clive Emson to join us today. Hi there, Paul.
How are you doing, all right?
Good. So we're in a little village, or a town, I suppose, Chelmsford, and I was driving in today and I saw it said the birthplace of radio, which obviously, as we're on radio, is, I didn't actually know what that was behind that.
Marconi were here for a very long time. In fact, they've still got offices in the area too. So no, it's and of course Chelmsford's now a city as well. So it's really
they're calling it a village.
Yeah, I better correct you on that one.
Okay, so we're in the city of Chelmsford. Yeah, nice. I did Google his name, and I couldn't pronounce the first. He's an Italian name, so Mr. Marconi. Yeah. But anyway, obviously we're here to talk about property and buying at auction, which I must say, having seen you on stage the other day, you were fantastic, very captivating, and I was just saying to you off air there that my heartbeat was racing and I wasn't even bidding, so
Thank you.
It was quite enjoyable. But yeah, I mean, so the process, how does one, if you're thinking of selling your property, how does one go about getting it up through auction?
Okay, well, if you're looking at selling, I think probably the public perception of auction has really changed over the last 10 years. Mm-hmm. I mean, a lot of people still think what we do is sell cheap repossessions to property dealers. Yeah. And to be honest, that couldn't be further from the truth. Okay. What we do now is very much a private client-led business. I think no coincidence that the BBC programme Homes Under the Hammer came on, sort of in line with the time the banking crisis hit. And it used to be we got a lot of instructions from the likes of the big high street lenders, your NatWest, your Halifax, and so on and so on. And there became a point where they decided that at that time that auction wasn't the route they wanted to go down, so a lot of the instructions dried up. So we had to diversify what we did as auctioneers, and it was about the same time that Homes Under the Hammer came on television, and what it did, it put auctions in people's front room. Mm-hmm, so people started to understand what it was all about. They understood that they needed to look at the legal pack on the day of the auction. The drop of the gavel meant an exchange of contracts, all those sorts of things. But what it did, it gave them confidence because they could see what an auction room was like, and it wasn't a scary place. Mm-hmm. Whereas they thought, I'm up against all these property dealers, and I've got to worry about them, and it's all sort of closed bidding and all that. But it's not. They realised it's quite a friendly, open atmosphere, and it's totally transparent. Yeah. So there's absolutely no reason why they couldn't come along and bid. But as I say, as we always say to people, I mean, that's from the buyer's point of view. But if someone's looking to sell, I'd say probably nowadays 60-65% of our market is private client work. Okay. Someone who's inherited a property, a rental that's gone bad, and they just want it sold. They're moving in with family, they're moving abroad. They've got timescales that they need to meet, and that's where auction comes in, whether it be online or one of the live auction room scenarios. Yes, So as I say, to actually place a property to auction, all people need to do is, in the first instance, give us a call. We'll come out, see the property, give our opinion as to where we think the guide price needs to be in order to generate interest. Get people through the door, and then get them along to the auction room, as you saw the other day. Yeah. If you do that, you will walk away with a good sale price and a full sale value as well, not a sort of 10-20% below market value, as a lot of people think. that's what auctions do. They sell property cheap. It's not the case.
I'm
really
probably,
not the case.
I'm kind of, more of that. I used to be like that thinking. I mean, I would. It's quite interesting what you said, that you've got more, I suppose, end users or end sellers doing it now. I always, have the perception, it was dealer, developer chaps, traders, if you like. But
well, I say a lot of people who came to the auction there on Tuesday this week were there looking for their own property.
Yeah.
So that's been the real change. And as long as people do their homework, they go through the legal documents, they get surveys done, they walk into that auction room with absolute full knowledge of that property. There's no risk to them.
Yeah, no, I suppose, obviously recent news, it was talking about on the open market, if you like, for estate agents, gazumping and the process. And, as a buying agent, when I've got a transaction going through, it's so frustrating that, the estate agent selling the property, and then you get to the solicitor stage and the documents are not there. So you're not aware so much of what you're buying essentially. But I suppose, you can tell a bit more about this. It's very transparent.
It is. Transparency is absolute key. Yeah, that's right. Because someone's interested in a property, they download the legal pack from our website. They can take that to their solicitor can look at it. They can know everything on the legal side about that property before they come into the auction room to bid. And as I say, on the drop of the gavel at auction,
it's a gavel.
Gavel, yes,
a
hammer. Technical term, I suppose.
Yeah.
But
so you're the auctioneer. I'll go with your word.
I'll call it a hammer. I don't mind. Yeah, if it's good enough for the BBC, then it's good enough for me. Yeah. As I say. On the drop of the gavel, so you have exchange contracts under English law. That is the contract point, and at that point, it really is a case of the deal's done. So you can't get gazumped because no one can come in because you've already contracted. And from a seller's point of view, it works equally well because you can't get to the day before exchange of contracts, and then the buyer say, well, I'll re-offer. I'll offer £10,000 less, or and try and chip the price at that point, because that can't happen. So from both sides, it is a totally transparent transaction. Everyone knows what's going on, and it's done nice and quickly. And so there can't be any renegotiation. So
I suppose it's a pure market.
It is. It's the most pure form of selling, really, isn't it? Everyone in a room, and the person stood with their.
If you want to buy it, turn up.
That's it. The person stood with their hand in the end, hand in the end at the air. Let's go the start again. Hand in the air at the end is the winning bidder. Yes.
Yeah, I suppose. Well, the estate, the standard format of buying property through estate agents. You're right. You under offer, and then the anomalies kick in, and the longer it takes. That's it. I mean, they say the average, what is it now? So 8 to 12 weeks for a private treaty transaction to go through. And yes, a lot can change in that time. Unfortunate things can happen. The most unexpected reasons a sale can fall through. So from the point of view of speed, certainty, auction is very very good in that respect. I don't want to make you sound very cold, but I suppose it's less emotional in that sense, because when you're buying on an open treaty, people can fall out over silly little things, emotions kick in.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've had people out. I mean, in the past, when I was in a estate agency, you have people arguing over the value of a shower curtain, and so you don't get any of that.
You're not leaving it.
No, that's right. Yeah, but as I say, I wouldn't say it takes the emotion out of it, because I've seen people burst into tears in an auction room, almost run around the auction room with their arms in the air celebrating because they've bought one. So from that point of view, there is a real sort of culmination of all the work and all the viewings and all the activity over the 3-week marketing period come together in that one moment. And so there's usually a release of excitement at that point. Yeah,
I think there was one chat the other day actually when I saw you. Obviously, you're quite happy when it's sold, but probably like me, when you do a transaction, you want the other person, the buyer, to be happy. And he had a big smile on his face.
That's it. Yes,
you mentioned it. I mean, like I said, when you were on stage, it was great. You had the whole room. I suppose you have to be a little bit of I suppose on stage, aren't you? Really?
Well, it is. Yeah,
quite challenging.
My old boss once said to me, it was the first auctioneer I ever saw was a chap called Mike Logan Wood, and he was a proper old English gent, really nice guy. But he was he once said to me, Paul, to be an auctioneer, you don't need any training, you don't need any qualifications. All you need is half a day at RADA.
At what?
At RADA.
What's the
Royal Academy of...
Oh, right, sorry. There you go. I'm showing my ignorance again here, you know. Okay.
So, as I say, and he was absolutely right, because, you just need to keep the room alive. If it goes a little bit flat because you don't sell a couple, I say you just need to keep the room going and have a story or a line to get people... Yeah, that is a little bit. But I say it's completely the other side of my personality, because, out of work, it's not me at all.
Yeah.
I never thought that I'd end up being an auctioneer, but
I know, that's what I mean. Well, I suppose looking back, if you ever did a school play, you're on there, and my hands are just shaking like crazy.
Yeah, well, I say, if you asked me to stand up and read out of a book, I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
But stand up and coordinate an auction, no problem at all.
No, it was very, very enjoyable.
Well, that's it. Because I suppose because you know the law, you know the properties, you know the legislations that affect you, so I feel like nothing can faze me up there. It's a case of I'm the one with the microphone at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had some strange scenarios over the years, but nothing really phases you when you're up there. No.
I mean, you touched on, obviously, you sound like you started in an estate agency.
I did, yeah. I left school in '92 and I joined an estate agency in a little village called little town, called Moore. No, they won't thank me for that. Just in Essex, where so there was probably only 3 or 4 estate agents at the time, and that was just on a YTS office junior role, and sort of progressed to the point of running branches by the time I left, within 5 years, and then I went to work for an auction firm. And then in 2006 I got the opportunity to actually get up on the rostrum and sell. So the first 10 lots I sold was a little rather nerve-wracking. It was up in Glasgow as well, so with my accent it went down very well.
No, for sure. So I mean, I suppose, if anybody was interested in getting into doing auctioneering, is that kind of the standard path that people go through?
I mean, as I say, don't get me wrong. I mean, there's no reason why people can't come straight into auctioneering from school, from college, from university. I mean, an auctioneering is not just land and property. I mean, there's so many different disciplines of auction, and as a firm, we were quite involved with the National Association of Valuers and Auctioneers, and that again takes in all different types of auctioneers, valuers from so many different disciplines, whether it's cattle auctions, car auctions, antiques, toy auctioneers. I mean, the medical auctions, the things you think there wouldn't be a specialism in, there is. So as I said, I mean, that's without doubt the best way. You can take a technical award in those areas too, either in property or the sort of chattel side of things.
Do you miss being an estate agent?
Honestly, I've got to be. No, I don't. No, I love what I do. As I say, being an auctioneer takes up a couple of hours of my time once every 6 weeks when we do our auction. The rest of the time, it's business development. It's seeing clients, seeing the properties, doing the viewings, orchestrating the advertising, and the marketing side of things before the auction.
A lot of background.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, everyone thinks, it's an easy job. You just turn up and you stand up and sell for a couple of hours. But no, there's a lot goes on in the background before you get to that stage.
Okay, so I mean, on that, let's just say I've got a house and I've just inherited a house, and I'm looking to sell it. I give you a call. How does what's the process from there? So you obviously come and
come and have a look at the property. I mean, we don't actually give a valuation as such, because the figure that we set in the catalogue is an auction guide price.
Yeah.
Now, the guide price can't be a false or misleading figure. It has to be a figure that you would consider worst case scenario, or a level that a buyer would expect they could come and buy it for. So, as I say, we work with you to understand what that figure should be. We come up with a recommendation. You can either shoot me down or come back with a figure you think. And as I said, we'd agree on what we think it should be, and we go ahead at that marketing at that price. obviously, property goes into the catalogue, which goes out to our database. It also gets included in publications like the Estates Gazette. We're the only auctioneers who fully bind our catalogue in the Estates Gazette. But also, obviously, the online side of things. You've got Rightmove, you've got Zoopla, you've got the Essential Information Group. All these other websites and platforms where we display our properties and get our inquiries from. But the other thing, newspaper advertising still, especially in Essex, it has surprised me so much that I thought newspaper advertising would be dead, really, but I still see people walking into the auction room with cuttings out the newspaper, which, like I say, it surprised me a little, but it just goes to show, some people still rely on that form of media
we don't get any delivered where I live in London, but my parents live in Essex, and they have a whole stack of newspapers still. So
that's right.
Maybe it's a home counties thing. I don't know. So a guide price, is that the same as a reserve?
The guide price and reserve, there's a slight conflict in terms of the guidance given out by the Advertising Standards Authority and the Consumer Protection Regulations, which are handed out to us by Trading Standards. Their law, their legislation, we can't change them. The Advertising Standards Authority came out a few years ago and said there can be a 10% difference between the guide price and reserve.
Okay.
However, the Consumer Protection Regulations view that as bait advertising. So, in theory, the reserve price should be at the same level as your guide price or lower. As I mentioned, the guide price should be a level that someone could come to auction and expect to buy the property for. Yes, under the Advertising Standards Authority guidance, auctioneers aren't wrong in doing that. But as I say, if there's people with bigger teeth, and that's Trading Standards, and they will prosecute for base advertising if they catch auctioneers, with that 10% difference.
Yeah, okay. Well, I suppose as it is a pure market, it should hit the value.
That's right. Yes,
at the end of the day. I suppose an auctioneer, maybe my perception's a little bit wrong because I was thinking more it's more dealer developer guys, but in many ways I think it's like the initial market, and you've probably got a good gauge of how the market is in let's say a private treaty market. I mean, how are you seeing things at the minute?
We work
last year.
Yeah, we work quite closely. I think that we've got 143 at the last count estate agents across Essex who stock our auction catalogues, and we work with quite closely and talk to on a if not weekly basis, certainly monthly, Essex is a very mixed bag because you've got very, very different markets. Which you go closer into London, and then you've got the seaside resorts as well, and it really is so different from town to town. There's, on the whole, the market's still very good, and if something's the right price, certainly at auction, if we found something's the right price, it still attracts good interest, good number of viewers. I mean, for example, the little property we had in Writtle, just outside Chelmsford at the auction earlier this week, we had over nearly almost 100 viewers at the property. Okay. And I say a good number of those in the room were there for that. And I say that sold 95,000 above the guide price. So fantastic. But the general sort of consensus from the agents on the private treaty side is that property's just starting to take a little bit longer to sell. It's not affecting the values, but it's just taking a little bit longer to actually get that value. Same with rentals. Again, this isn't the whole of Essex because there's so many variants across the area. But people are saying that the rents haven't dropped, but it's just taking a little bit longer to get a property let at the value that they want it let at. I
suppose that's right, isn't it? I mean, it's obviously market is quite localised. I mean, my experience is more sort of London based, but agents there are sort of saying to me, it's more the procrastinating buyer. That they're doing a lot of viewings, but not actual. So many people jumping on it. So you're right, people taking longer, and I guess if you had 100 viewings on that process.
Well, that's right. Yeah, I mean, it's we do block viewing, so it's in real terms it was only sort of five trips out of the office, but to have all those close on 100 people attend over those five individual viewing times was was quite
Get them
quite
through the
tricky
door,
with
yeah.
well, that's right, especially with it being such a small cottage as well.
No. So, I mean, obviously, you said coastal towns. I mean, it could be holiday homes for people, sort of second homes, people from London.
Yeah, I mean, as I say, you've got places around Southend. You've got obviously Southend, Westcliff. Lee is very nice. There's some lovely property around that way, and Thorpe Bay and around that area. And as I say, you go around the coast, places like Mersey Island, and then up towards Clacton and Harwich, which historically have been Victorian seaside towns. I mean, obviously that you've got all the port at Harwich as well. So it's a little bit, I don't say cut off, because there's train lines into London from Harwich. But it's a sort of 45-minute drive past Colchester, so it's quite a way out. But again, the market there's been really good, really good. So.
I suppose. I mean, I guess there's obviously a lot of people moving out of London, and I guess to get in by train from here it's quite about half an hour.
From Chelmsford, 35 minutes.
Fantastic.
Absolutely, yeah. And you've got the Crossrail, coming in from Shenfield, right across London as well. So as I say, you go into parts of Essex like Epping and in towards Romford, and that's something you can jump straight on the underground into London as well. So the transport connections are great. I mean. Not only that, I mean, Southend itself has got two main lines into London. You've got the C2C line and
airport now as well,
and the airport as well, which is brilliant. If you ever fly from Southend Airport, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's so small, it feels so personal. It's
not the chaos that if you go to Stansted.
No, that's right. It's a really good experience.
Like cattle at Stansted, aren't you, going through? But Southend, I guess, hasn't got that like that just yet. But I mean, okay, so we've got a property on an auction, let's say, and you don't quite hit the reserve. What happens to that? When a property doesn't sell?
Yeah, there were. I say, unfortunately, there were a couple that we didn't sell at the auction this week. So after the auction, we came back to the office. We get on the phone straight away, contact all the people who may have viewed, had downloaded the legal documents, expressed any interest, and let them know obviously the property is still available. At that point, we can either organise more viewings, they can download the legal pack, they can make an offer if they wish, and if they make an offer then that's acceptable to the seller, then say they come to our office, sign the auction contract, pay the 10% deposit, and exchange contracts immediately.
So I suppose that's kind of then your sort of estate agency experience comes in a bit
that's
more.
That's right.
It's back to that kind of
in a way, yeah. I mean, it's the old-fashioned sort of phone out and try and generate the activity again. As I said, that's quite a big part of what we do. I mean, after the auction, we sold two more in the auction room after the sale had finished, when people came up and made offers to us afterwards. And we did another one the day after, a little flat in Westcliff, where again someone came forward and paid the full reserve price the day after the auction.
Yeah, no, I think it's definitely. I mean, you'll obviously know it. It's getting pretty more and more popular. But I think it's definitely a great way to buy and sell. It's just so it's definite, it's quick, it definitely needs to be some change to the open market. I think. But
I said there was a talk, wasn't there, earlier this week that government want to try and make the whole buying and selling process quicker and easier.
Yeah.
I'm all for that. Yeah, absolutely. Because there's so many long, drawn out sales that go on. I mean, you hear something being running for 10 months and still haven't exchanged. It's ridiculous.
Crazy. Obviously we mentioned about those the Homes Under the Hammer, the TV program, and afterwards they quite often interview people and they're like, "Oh, did you view it?" And they're like, "No, I didn't view it. I just turned up." I mean, is that a frequent story? You get that quite often. I mean, the punter, I suppose, or someone who just gets a bit excited.
Yeah, on the day. I mean, don't get me wrong. It does happen. Yeah, it's not the norm. 99% of cases, people have done everything they need to do. But yeah, you do get them. I mean, I had a guy who came and bought a property at 450,000, hadn't viewed it, hadn't downloaded the legal pack, and just turned up at the auction because he liked the look of it.
Yeah.
Well, there's nothing to stop him doing that. But as we make clear at the start of the auction, if you buy it today you've exchanged contracts. You're legally bound
You're
to
there,
buy
aren't
that
you?
property.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So it is down to them to make their investigations, and it's entirely up to them how far they take that.
And obviously, just to say, there's an exchange of contracts, then you have how long to complete after that?
The common time is 20 working days, so
Okay.
4 weeks. Yeah.
So he's paid his 10%. Now he's off trying to find the rest of the
That's it.
90%.
Yeah. Well, that's right. Yeah.
no doubt he's got it. I mean,
I'm sure he has. Yeah.
would have been bidding. I mean, so what advice could you give people if they're thinking of going to buy at auction? Is there a sort of checklist or things they should definitely do or avoid?
We'd say there's 5 golden rules, really.
Okay.
The first being, obviously, get the catalogue through, identify the properties you want to that might sort of be of interest to you. Go and view the property. Obviously, take a build around. Take a friend who can give you some advice. As I said, try and find out as much about the property as you can. If you like it, get back to the office or home or whatever. Download the legal documents. That's the next point, really. And again, get a solicitor to look through it. We're not solicitors.
Yeah.
It's a case of, they must make their own inquiries and satisfy themselves that they're happy with the documentation there. Fourth point is get a survey done. If you require one for your finance, obviously get that done, because if you need a survey to be done and you come to the auction and buy it and then get the survey done afterwards, and the surveyor says, well, I'm sorry, we're not prepared to lend on this property, you've got a problem. You've spent 10% in terms of the deposit. You've then got 4 weeks to come up with the balance of the money, and if you don't, you can be you're in breach of contract, so you can be sued for
the rest, I suppose.
Right,
yeah. I mean, does that happen often? I suppose it's up to the owner to take a view.
It is, yeah. It tends to be up to the owner as to whether they want to pursue for that or just resell it. Obviously, they rescind the contract, they forfeit their 10% deposit, and yeah, again, it's a client by client decision really whether they want to pursue it further. And as I say, we would offer to rerun the property through the next auction. Yeah. And again, then if there's any loss in reselling the property, that again can fall on the previous buyer.
So
I think, and then the final thing is to turn up to the auction, register, bring all your ID, your method of paying your deposit, and try not to worry.
I mean, if they're like me and my heartbeat's, my heartbeat was racing, I wasn't even bidding. Yeah. Can you bid on behalf of people?
As I said, if people can bid remotely, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they can either bid by telephone. So we phoned them from the auction room, and they say, bid now, or whatever they want to say for us to put the bid in for them. They can bid online at our auctions, so they can log on. They get pre-approved in terms of their deposit and money laundering regulations and that sort of thing, anti-money laundering regulations, and they just click yes, get that right. Yes, yeah.
How to launder money? Not to launder money.
Yeah, okay. And on the click of a mouse, they can bid, which is a fascinating way of doing it, really. And then thirdly, the proxy bidding, where they give us their maximum bid. And one of the auction staff will be there, bidding on their behalf. Yes, yeah. Okay. And myself as the auctioneer won't know what they're prepared to bid. Bit of a conflict otherwise. So.
Yeah, no, for sure. And don't put your hand up if you're not.
It amazes me. Every auction, there's always one that waves to someone in the auction room. Yeah, that's right. As a stretch, or waves to the friend at the back of the room. But you can have a bit of a laugh with those.
So, I mean, that was the southeast auction that we went to the other day. What other areas do Clive Emson
Clive Emson was founded by Clive himself back in 1989. So it's been running for approaching 30 years now. And it's still a family-run company. They started in Kent. We still do, obviously, a Kent auction is probably our primary area in terms of the lot numbers that we get. I mean, we had 101 lots in Kent the day before the Essex auction.
Oh, okay.
And then, as I say, they progressed along the south coast, opening offices in Brighton, taking in Sussex and Surrey, Hampshire, and the West Country as well. And here in Essex, we're the newest addition to the team. We opened in January 2015.
Okay, no, good. Well, yeah, it was definitely it was a big buzz the other day, and I'd recommend anybody if you're probably a good idea to come along to an auction before you're actually going to bid.
Oh, definitely.
The
I'd
one
always
before
recommend that. Yeah, if it's something that you want to get involved with, coming to auctions, I'd always recommend go into a couple, see how they operate, see how they run, and know what to expect.
I suppose, or even just go and to a furniture auction and go and buy a chair or something, because it's a similar process, but you won't be outlaying so much money to get the.
That's what amazes me. A lot of furniture auctions or chattels auctions, a lot of it is done remotely. A lot of people don't actually attend the auction room so much. I've been to auctions where you look around and you think there's only sort of 20 people here. Don't get me wrong, I love going to auctions, whether they're car auctions.
You're addicted now.
I'm an auction junkie, I suppose. But that's the difference with property auctions. I think the remote bidding side of things is more of a fallback if they can't get to the auction room. People do still prefer to actually want to be there to bid in person.
No, that's fantastic. So, how can people get in contact with you if they're thinking of
primarily?
Selling,
through the website cliveemson.co.uk, or they can find our local office numbers and call the regional offices, and we'll be happy to talk them through any aspect of buying and selling at auction. Other than that, there's of course always the social media. There's the Facebook page, the Twitter feeds, and all that sort of thing.
We'll be once this show goes out, we'll be popping your Twitter on there so people can get in contact with that as well. So, thanks for your time today, Paul. The Marketplace with Matt Turner of Astute Property Search, showcasing different areas of London to live or invest in. Okay, so today we're in Hampstead with Wayne and Silver. I'm with Mark Wayne, the director of Wayne and Silver. Hampstead's a lovely town in the borough of Camden, in the north part of London. But hi Mark, how you doing?
How are you doing? You okay?
Good, thank you. So Mark's been an estate agent for a little while, have you?
I have indeed, over 10 years.
Okay.
My father's been an estate agent since he was about 20, which is about 30, 40 years ago now. So we've in the family, we've been in the area for about 25 years now. So it's a
fantastic
kind of business.
Very, very good. And so what's the Hampstead area like? I mean, you just deal in Hampstead, or are you other parts of Camden? Or
we deal with other parts in Camden. We deal with areas such as Belsize Park, which is very close, South Hampstead, other areas like West Hampstead, Maida Vale, St John's Wood. Those sorts of corridors all the way from Hampstead down to central London is what we cover.
No, fantastic. So, obviously bear in mind we're the health radio. What kind of pull people to the area of Hampstead from a sort of health benefits?
I think,
what's the kind of demographic of person that lives around this area?
I think really the Heath pulls a lot of buyers within the area, which is Hampstead Heath, which is famous all around the world. Everyone knows Hampstead Heath. In fact, they've just released a film which is based in Hampstead.
Yeah, I saw that, Hampstead. So it might have the same effect as Notting Hill did and bring a load of American buyers over for you.
Exactly. So it was like a Hollywood film made all around Hampstead. And look, the Heath really attracts a lot of people. There are various things you can do there. There's a running track, there's tennis courts. You've also got a lot of people that hike all around, and there's the outdoor pools, which are very famous.
Have you been in them?
I haven't, no. I haven't been brave enough to. I've seen lots of people try, but no, I'm not brave enough to.
Are they members only, or you can actually
No, it's to the public. There's a women's one and there's a gentleman's one. I have seen them. I've walked past them, and they're fantastic. But these people are very, very brave.
Obviously, it's a more wealthy part of London. Obviously, looking at the last 10 years, I had a quick look online, and prices probably nearly doubled, I suppose, since the sort of the Lehman Brothers of 2008. I mean, how do you see the market around here right now?
I think you're spot on. It has doubled in price. I think prices have cooled off since Brexit.
The B word. We're not allowed to mention Brexit.
We won't mention it. It's certainly cooled off, and yes, it has gone up nearly double. But I see and forecast it cooling off and coming down. I think it's already come down 10%, and could go down another 10%. But I don't think any further than that. It's a very high demand area, and therefore I don't think prices will plummet.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of the area where people, so old money, I suppose, people don't need to sell. That'd be right.
Yeah, I think so. And also people are trading within the area. If you're sticking in the area and trading from a 2-bed down to a 1-bed or 1-bed up to a 2-bed, you're getting a premium on both sides. So it's just harder to get into Hampstead if you're living in the suburbs.
Yeah.
But you're right. It's old money.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I mean, like the demographic here, who would be the sort of buyer at the moment? Is it? I mean, do you actually get people retiring to this area as well, or it's
very multicultural? That's the beautiful thing about Hampstead. You've got all sorts of people. You've got a lot of international buyers. We've dealt with Russian buyers recently. It is a good time to buy for the international market, given the exchange rate. The pound is quite weak right now, so we're seeing people buying into the area because property values are slightly less than they usually are, and because of the weak pound. So international, but a lot of local buyers. We have a lot of Asian buyers. Jewish buyers, which are very, very popular around here. There's a lot of people, so on and so forth. Yeah.
Okay, and I mean, it's probably quite well known for schools around here.
Great schools, yeah. That's you've hit on a great point there. I mean, there's probably over 40 schools within this area, maybe even more.
The only reason I just want to drive through, I get stuck in the traffic. If you drive through at 2:30 to 3:30,
you do. It's a nightmare.
Chelsea tractors are out, and maybe.
Totally, it is a nightmare within those hours where it's school pickup. But it's one of those things that. People are really attracted to the area because of the schools. There's some fantastic schools here, and I think that is one of the number one things for people moving to the area.
So, I mean, you mentioned you do in other areas around. I mean, how does sort of this area differ from, say, West Hampstead?
It's got a bit of a more villagey feel, I think. Yeah. I think the high street here is second to none. You've got some of the nicest restaurants. You've got some great shopping outlets. You've got like the local butchers, and it's just got a real sort of British village feel, which I think you lose in different areas.
I mean, I go to Cornwall every now and then, which is in the southwest of England, and you get the local butcher, the greengrocer, and the pub that you can have your Sunday roast. And Hampstead is definitely a village feel like that, I guess. What's the entry level for, let's say, someone looking for a 1-bedroom around here, a 1-bedroom flat that they're pied-à-terre that they're going to just use periodically?
I think the entry level really is somewhere around the £500,000 mark, which might shock a lot of people. But prices have gone up considerably, and it's a very desirable area. You used to be able to pick something up for £350, and that's now gone up, respectively to 500,000. So I think that's the average 1-bed.
And sort of, what does that buy you exactly? How many square feet?
It buys you, if you're making feet or meters, it buys you about 45 square meters, or about 500 square foot. So your average sort of 1-bed, maybe sort of sort of basic reception, kitchen, and bedroom.
Yeah, okay. And that would, so if you're doing it from an investment point of view, what rental would you sort of look to get on there?
I would say it was about £400 per week, with a yield of, say, after service charges, about 3.5%.
Yeah, no, okay. So it's kind of a London average, but I suppose around here it's more capital growth people are looking at, or parking their money, or
purely capital growth. I can't see the market doubling again in 10 years' time, but we said that the last 10 years and 10 years before that, so
you never know.
Who knows?
No, definitely could be the case. So what sort of architecture is in Hampstead? You still get some lot of new builds around here, because I mean it's quite well established already?
It's changed a lot, Hampstead. I mean, there are some new builds which are propping up now and again. They're usually replacing buildings which were built in the 50s or 60s, as opposed to 1800s and sort of turn of the century 1900s. Look, it's a conservation area on the whole. We're selling a property which is just opposite my office, actually, which was built circa 1700.
1700?
Yeah.
Okay, wow.
Which it's not actually a listed building, but it's got some great original features. So you've got original beams, low ceilings, how they would have been, the old coal, room, which is still, remains to this day. And I think a lot of people like that sort of that old architecture, that 1800s.
What's that one being sold for?
That one is on the market at £2.795.
£2.79 million.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, okay, yeah.
And
you've got to say only after that.
Yeah, it's relatively cheap.
Yeah.
But that's a whole house. That's a 4-bedroom house, and at the top you have a terrace which overlooks the whole of London, which is absolutely fantastic. It's like Mary Poppins style.
Okay, and the type of buyer that's going to get that, is going to be a family, or what do you anticipate?
Quite wide and quite varied who would actually buy the property. People using it as a pied-à-terre. The current owner uses it as a pied-à-terre.
Okay.
The American consortium are very interested in it because it's got all the original features that one expects. All sorts of different buyers. End users, kind of even people that will be able to maybe rent it out and look at it as a long-term investment. Yeah,
no, I suppose it's come up with some ideas, and then the different demographic comes along and buys it.
Yeah.
So obviously, the market's a little bit tough at the minute, you'd say.
Well, we weren't going to touch on Brexit, and we probably won't touch on it, but it's been a major thing in the UK.
Yeah.
I think uncertainty, the demand is very low. It means it is very much a buyer's market. For many, many years it's been a seller's market, and now it is a buyer's market. It will bounce back, it always does bounce back. There are so many properties within this area. They're not building a huge amount of new development around here, although there are a few propping up. So people are being a little bit creative about how they're developing around here, on rooftops, backland, and various undesirable land which people are actually building on.
Yeah, no, okay. So is it quite sort of a seasonal market here? Because you obviously touched on that the schools are quite, are very good around here. People actually just sort of buying, when it comes to September and people are choosing schools for the following year, you get sort of that kind of crowd coming in.
I think you're right. I think anywhere sort of from Easter to summer holidays, and then the summer holidays everyone's away, so it's pretty much dead.
Yeah.
And then straight after summer holidays it's busy until around Christmas again. So we've got 2 good quarters, but it is very seasonal. Yeah, I think the majority of people in Hampstead, when it is the summer holidays or school holidays, up and go, and it's like a ghost town, which is nice for us because I can get into work in 5 minutes.
No, very good. So you obviously do lettings and management here?
We do, yeah.
Okay, and more people renting at the minute then because of Brexit, or how you?
Yeah, there's been a flood of investment properties, so there's a lot of stock to choose from. I think the top end of the rental market has come down somewhat. Properties that were on for say £2,000 a week have certainly dropped 10%. There aren't as many corporate people renting within the areas because of the uncertainty with the European Union. But the lower end is certainly still buoyant.
No, for sure. All right, we'll just take a break and we'll be back in a moment.
Sure.
You're listening to The Property Show with Matt Turner of Astute Property Search. If you have any property-related questions that you would like to ask Matt, you can email him at matt, with 2 T's, at astutepropertysearch.co.uk.
Okay, so welcome back. Again, I'm here with Mark Wayne, Director of Wayne and Silver in the lovely town of Hampstead up in above Camden. So, I mean, talking about buying and selling, what tips would you have, if someone's thinking about going out to buy a property next week, what tips would you, for three things that they should do, maybe.
I think knowledge is power, so it's important to know your market. Do a lot of research. You can do so much research online now. Property prices are in black and white in front of you, so knowing the values are very important. Obviously, buying low is key.
Yeah.
Negotiating hard. I think it's very important to get a right mortgage as well, because a lot of people are coming in, getting the wrong mortgages and struggling. A lot of people are fixing for 5 years now, which is the thing to do.
Because interest rates are so low at the moment,
Yeah, and it's uncertain times, so I think people are fixing for a period of time. It's important to get the right mortgage, it really is. So that would be probably tip 2. I think tip 3 is also probably go with a reputable survey company. It's important to get the right survey on the property. Especially some of the properties that I buy that are a little bit run down, it's important to know what you're in for.
Yeah.
So do your research again. But on the whole, it's important that you know market knowledge.
Yeah. So just to touch on that, I mean, once you've got a property under offer, that's what the point that you would have a survey on the property. So if it's a new build place, it's probably not much point doing it, I guess. Unless you're a real sceptical, worried buyer. But it's more, the properties you're dealing with in Hampstead here, they've been built 100, 200 years ago. You want to get a survey around just to make sure it's still standing, right?
I think so, yeah. A lot of the new build flats, you wouldn't get a survey. You get a valuation from the bank, but necessarily it is a waste of money. I think with freehold houses in particular, I would certainly get a survey. Look, at the end of the day, we're not professionals in the surveying business, so we don't know necessarily what to look out for. There could be subsidence, damp, so it's important to send a proper professional in there, so you know what you're in for.
You're covered, They've obviously got some indemnity on that, haven't you?
Exactly, and occasionally it comes to a point where it's a point to renegotiate. If there is some severe problems with the property, then you can go back to the vendor and say, look, I didn't foresee this. Which might go down well or not. It all depends on who you're dealing with. But necessarily there have been a lot of reductions on prices that we've taken because there have been some problems with the property. Yeah, no, for sure. And obviously getting the finance. If a buyer comes in here and says they've got finance, how are you sort of tackling that with them? If they've just gone to their own bank, or are you recommending them they should speak to a broker? Yeah, well, look, I would always recommend to speak to a broker because obviously they cover the whole market. I had a mortgage for a few years and came out of it, was offered a deal from my bank and realised that there was a world out there of other lenders and managed to get a much better deal. But we do check with buyers if they do have their mortgages in place or a mortgage in principle. Because a lot of people don't have their finances in place and kind of fudge it. They make an offer and then try to go for a mortgage, and the last thing we want to do is waste our clients' time with people that don't have their finances in place. Yeah, no, totally. I totally agree. A broker, you might have to pay a few £100s for the service, but they're open, to the whole market, so it's not just your bank that you're speaking to. And plus, getting the deal through, there's going to be a lot of headaches and challenges through that transaction. They will help get the right paperwork and hold the deal together. Definitely. So knowledge, getting good finance, and then obviously checking that you're buying the right thing through a surveyor. Vital. Good tips, and obviously maybe use a property finder, right? No, it's a good idea. Use a property finder, 100%. I think that was number 4. I should have said 4 things. That was number 4. Thanks, Mark. So flipping it around, then in this challenging market at the moment, where I guess buyers are king, what are your tips to sellers if they're thinking of selling right now? Because you might be thinking, well, I don't want to sell because the market's not great. But people who have to move, how are you handling that? I think be realistic on price. I think that get an opinion on value from a couple of agents. Don't be seduced by a high price that an agent might give you or valuation an agent might give you, because necessarily they might be trying to buy the instruction. Again, go online, see what other people have sold for, and make sure it's a realistic price. Just because you've gone online and seeing everyone asking phenomenal prices, it doesn't mean that they're actually getting those prices. I suppose as well with the that agent that may overvalue, and if you're tempted to go with that, check the terms and conditions, because quite often they sign you up for 20 weeks and
next thing you know, they're gradually reducing the price, right? So
Totally, and that is a tactic that a lot of the agents, a lot of the local agents use around here. We have a property which we are marketing on a road called Pilgrim's Lane. So it's a lovely road. Yeah. It's in between the High Street and the Heath, so you're equidistant walk about 5 minutes each way. So it's a great position. It was marketed by a local agent at about 2.2 million.
Okay.
It has been reduced £500,000.
1.7 now.
Yeah.
Wow.
Quite considerably.
So you can't view that as a great deal, or it was just overvalued, do you think?
I think it was overvalued. It's at a sensible price now.
Yeah.
And hopefully will sell shortly. But I think it's important to price well. If you price your property correctly, it will sell quickly.
Yeah.
I have no doubt that.
Yeah, no, okay, that's great. Recently in the news, a UK MP, Sajid Javid, was talking about generally leasehold reform and freeholders charging, quite excessive amounts on ground rents. Did you follow that at all?
Well, I did, briefly, and I know that they were talking about scrapping or reducing those ground rents, and also about the new builds, which they are thinking about instead of having the leasehold. They're offering them with part of the freehold, which I think is very sensible.
Yeah, it's definitely a great idea.
Yeah, there are lots of properties around here with shorter leases, and when they get down to a level, the extensions are phenomenal, and they limit who's going to actually purchase your property, because banks don't lend on leases that are under a particular
sort of up 60 years, do you think, something like that? I mean, some lenders may, but it's generally 60, 65, is it?
Yeah, around that sort of level. And that means that if you have got a property which has a short lease, only a cash buyer can actually purchase it, which really brings down the price dramatically.
Yeah, no, for sure. So, I mean, when you said extensions, you meant obviously the lease extension itself. So, let's say you got a one-bed flat around here with 60 years on the lease. I mean, what's that roughly going to be worth? Just give a
It could be 150 to maybe 200,000
to extend the lease.
Extend that lease.
Okay, yeah. So it's obviously reducing the market that what you can sell it for initially, and it's a tough sell, right? Hopefully the new properties that are going to be built out there in London will, I guess it'd be called virtual freehold, or scrap this archaic system that we
and they should be
have at the moment. I mean, so just rounding up here, obviously flip it back to Hampstead. I mean, you want to just say why people should be buying up here now, or what's the main pull? Should we touch on the Heath?
Well, I mean, first it's a great time to buy because property prices are not at their peak.
Yeah.
It's a great time to get a bit of a reduction. It's a great family area, it really is. It's around the world, it's very well known, Hampstead. I think price-wise, it's one of those areas where well priced to be close to central London. When you're going into central London, you're looking at £2,000-3,000 a square foot. Here, you can buy for just over £1,000 a square foot. The schools are absolutely fantastic. You've got an abundance of schools, nurseries, primary, secondary. And you've got the Heath. I think the number one thing for me would be the Heath. It's
kind of the main pull, and obviously it's called Parliament Hill up there. Parliament Hill. You've got a great view of the whole of London from up there.
It's absolutely fantastic.
Dog walkers and what have you.
You've got many areas that actually surround the Heath. So you've got from Kenwood and Highgate, which is very well known, down to Dartmouth Park. Belsize Park, and obviously Hampstead. So there's lots to do in the Heath. I recommend anyone who's in London must go to Hampstead.
Pop up there and
it's fantastic.
And if it starts raining, they can pop to the that local cinema, which is quite a cool one. In Hampstead.
They've got the Everyman, cinema, which
sofas in there, right?
Sofas. Showing independent films, some mainstream films. Yeah, it's a great place to be. It's definitely worth a visit.
Fantastic. All right, well, that's Mark Wayne of Wayne & Silver. Thanks for your time, and hope to speak to you again soon. So thanks for listening again today. I'm sure if you've listened to today's show and previous shows, you can understand how difficult it is to buy a
property over here in the UK, or challenging, shall I say, and the different methods that there are out there, be it at auction or, as Mark, the estate agent, said, even when you're buying for yourself and you know the market, it's quite a challenge. So my other job is as a property finder, so do send me any questions if you have. I'm quite happy to point you in the right direction and assist in any way I can over here in the UK. Next week I am going to be talking to a legal professional. When you buy property, obviously you've got to use a property conveyancer, and we're going to be going through some questions to do with buying and selling property. So until next week, that's Matt Turner on the UK Health Radio. Thanks for tuning in.